So, we're going to have a reading from Bhagavad Gita, which is different. The song we just sang glorified the pastimes that are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Every morning we have Srimad Bhagavatam class. And this is Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam is the book about Krishna's pastimes, and Bhagavad Gita is the book that Krishna spoke on the battlefield of all places before the war started. He spoke the science of the soul. So when do you need the science of the soul more than on the battlefield? So, and in a way we're all in, not that battlefield, it was a real battle, but it's it works kind of symbolically in a way because we're all in a battle in life. So it works for us too. So this is going to be from chapter 4.
Chapter 6 or 4?
Chapter 6. It was open to 4. So I said 4 because I didn't find a place yet because I was distracted. Would you like to look at the book and follow along? Chapter 6. Well, first, in the beginning of the introduction, there's a prayer we'll sing. To make sure that I say something good. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Actually, I'll probably read from my... it's easier. So, anybody else want to Bhagavad Gita to follow along? I got one sitting here. Anybody else? Take one sitting here? Okay, no takers? You want? Good. Not open to the right place yet. Okay, so I'm going to use my phone because it's got nice big print, bigger than that anyways. So, chapter 6, the last verse, 47. And so, find it? Did you find it? 647? You know how the verses are on the top of the page. So you can find where they are. Yeah. Okay. So you just get started, you can catch up. Yoginam api sarvesham Yoginam api sarvesham Mad Gatinantar Atmana Mad Gatinantar Atmana Shradhavan Bhajate Yo Mam Shradhavan Bhajate Yo Mam Sa Me Yuktatamo Mataha Same Yuktatamo Mataha. If you find that easy, difficult to read, maybe not here. You can see the board or something. It's the same verse. It's up to you. Okay. Oh. Let's see. 647. Yeah. It's got the lines across, put two in one line. It's the same. Yoginam api sarvesham Madgatinantaratmana Shradhavan bhajate yomam Same yuktatamo mataha Yoginam api sarvesham Madgatinantaratmana Shradhavan bhajate yomam Same yuktatamo mataha. Yes, three. So Yoginam api sarvesham Madgatinantaratmana Shradhavan bhajate yomam Same yuktatamo mataha.
Yoginam api sarvesham Madgatinantar Atmana Yoginamapi Sadesham
Yoginamapi Sadesham
Madhavana Taravana
Madhavana
Madhavan Bhajate Yoma
Madhavana Yoma
Samayuta Tamota
Samayuta Tamota
Yoginamapi Sarvesham
Yoginamapi Sarvesham
Advatantaratmana Madhavan Bhajate Yoma Yoginamapi Sarvesham
Yoginamapi Sarvesham
Yoginamapi Sarvesham
Yoginamapi Sarvesham
Madgatananta Atmanam
Madhavananda Atmanam
Shvaravan Bhajate Yomam Samayukta Tamo
Samayuta
It sounds done and then somebody pops up. Anybody else? Okay. Word meaning. Yoginam.
Yoginam
Of yogis.
of yogis
Api.
Api
Also. Sarvesham.
Sarvesham
All types of. Matgatena.
Matgatena
Abiding in me.
abiding in me,
Always thinking of me.
always thinking of me.
Anta Atmana.
Atmana
Within himself.
within himself.
Shradhavan.
Shradhavan
In full faith.
in full faith.
Bhajate.
Bhajate
Renders transcendental loving service.
renders transcendental loving service.
Yaha.
Yaha
One who.
one who
Mam. To me.
to me
The Supreme Lord.
the Supreme Lord.
Sa.
Saha
He. That's a small h. He. May. By me.
by me.
With a capital M. Yukta Tamaha.
Yuktamaha
The greatest yogi.
the greatest yogi.
Mataha.
Mataha
Is considered.
is considered.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So please repeat. And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So, purport. So just say ahead of time. The purport, first of all, it explains what bhajate means and how bhajate or bhakti is different from just worship. Then it explains the yoga ladder. And then it goes and explains, it gives a visual image of Krishna to help you love him. And then it goes back, it says the same, summarizes the same meaning. So, start with this first paragraph. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the verb bhaj, which is B-H-A-J, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore, or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can avoid worshiping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous. But one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. The Bhagavatam 11.5.3 confirms this as follows. Ya esham purusham sakshad atma prabhavam ishvaram na bhajantya vajananti sthanad pristak patantyadha. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. Pause here for a discussion. So, this service to the Lord, or the Sanskrit word bhakti, means trying to please his senses, using our senses to please his senses. That's one definition in Prabhupada's books of bhakti. So, if you're devoted to somebody, this is devotional service we're talking about. If you're devoted to somebody, you're going to try to do something to please their senses because that makes them happy, right? You're going to make them comfortable. You're going to cook something nice for them. You're going to just do something. If you're devoted, you're trying to do something nice that makes them feel good. So that's what devotion is like. And so devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like that. So we have actually a list of 9 kinds of devotional service. And you start with hearing and chanting, because actually it pleases Krishna, pleases his heart to know that we're chanting his name or his glories, to hear that. And so first hearing about Krishna, and then chanting about Krishna, instead of one order. So first comes hearing. Without hearing, no chanting, because you don't know what to chant. So first we hear about Krishna. And any time Krishna finds that a soul is stopping to listen and learning about him, hearing the holy names, hearing something about him, Krishna's pleased. So that makes him happy. So that's considered devotional service. So repeating it, which is chanting, whether you're chanting a mantra or whether you're chanting about Krishna, which is speaking about Krishna, because the Sanskrit word for chanting, kirtanam, covers all of that. So covers repeating, and it covers chanting a mantra, and it covers discussion, everything. So hearing and chanting are 2 of the foundational kinds of devotional service. And then there's remembering. After you hear and chant, then you remember. So you think about Krishna. And then Padasevanam. Pada means feet. Sevanam, service. So you serve his lotus feet. And what does that mean? Well, you station yourself respectfully and dependently at his lotus feet, in your heart and your mind. Because once you hear about him, once you're chanting about him, once you're remembering about him, that's where you are. You're placing yourself at his lotus feet. And then Archanam, once you're there, you do some service to him. So we have the forms of the deities on the altar, and we have all kinds of service that we do to the deities. Because actually they're carved in stone, but then they're not just stone, because we invited the Lord to come and be present in a ceremony. And then since that was done, he's a guest. He's really there. We have to serve him. So we have to, every day, do nice, loving service for him. And so then while we're there, Vandanam, prayers. We're offering prayers, glorify him. And then doing all kinds of helpful things. Becoming the servant. Like, they call the word the gopher. Go for this, go for that. You become a gopher. You become a servant for Krishna. Then becoming his friend, and then offering the whole self to him. So these are 9 kinds of devotional service. And the active kinds of busy, visible temple devotional services only come under one heading. Archanam, worshiping. That's worshiping, but it's not the whole thing. So it's devotion and love. It's not just honoring. So Prabhupada is trying to explain that in this purport about bhajate, which means service. So we're talking about service and devotional service. And it's more than just worshiping. Because worshiping gives honor, but service is trying to please and make him happy. So, anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, he's the source of, there are demigods, he's the source of the demigods, they're just servants. And he's the source of all the souls, we're all just servants, and he's the source of the material energy. He's the primeval Lord, is the source of everything. So we actually cannot avoid serving Him, but we can avoid having a service attitude if we want to. Then what will we do? We'll be serving His material nature, and which is what our bodies are made of. We'll be serving the senses in our own bodies. We'll be serving senses in other people's bodies. We can't avoid this service thing. But the service with the attitude that it's for Krishna, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very different from service with the attitude of serving myself, which isn't myself, it's just my body. And I'm just serving a body's made of Krishna's energy. Serving Krishna indirectly, but not in a happy way. So you serve your body, you get karma. Serve Krishna, you get no karma, you get happiness. So it's different. So continue reading. In this verse also the word bhajanti is used. The verse I just read from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, where the word worship can be applied to demigods or to any other common living entity. The word avajananti, used in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, is also found in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti mam muda, only the fools and rascals derive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. Get a feeling here he's replying to some other English translations here, and that where they have not distinguished, they have not made it clear how special it is to serve with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So fools deride Krishna or neglect Krishna. And sometimes fools worship lesser beings, and they're hoping to get something out of it. So it's not the same as devotional service. So we'll go forward to the next meeting, the next part. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in bhakti yoga. This is going to be about the yoga ladder. There are a lot of different kinds of yogas, but they lead like a ladder. So we're going to talk about that. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti and bhakti yoga. Bhakti, again, is devotional service. Yoga actually means bhakti yoga. There's another verse where the word yoga is translated as to link with the Supreme. It doesn't just mean some kind of exercise that makes you peaceful. It means to link with the Supreme. So yoga means bhakti yoga. So that's our relationship with Krishna, is to be devotional service to Him. Yoga, of course, to link with the Supreme means ultimately devotional service. So anyway, all other yogas are progressions toward the destination of bhakti yoga. From the beginning of karma yoga to the end of bhakti yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma yoga without fruitive results is the beginning of this path. So I'll explain this. Karma does not just mean the reaction to things you do. It means the kind of work that you have been born to do according to your karma. So it also means, therefore, duty, material duty. So, and if you do your material duty, you get a material reward. But karma yoga without fruitive results means you have dedicated all this to Krishna. You're doing your duty, but you're dedicating it to Krishna. So you don't get karma for that, because you give it to Krishna. When karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called jnana yoga. Jnana means knowledge. So the more karma yoga you do, doing your duty, but doing it for Krishna, the more you get transcendental knowledge of what's Krishna and what's not, what's spiritual, what's not. So when jnana yoga increases in meditation on the supersoul, that means the Lord in your heart, by different physical processes and the mind is on Him, it is called Ashtanga Yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga Yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, it is called Bhakti Yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal. But to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name: Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yogi, yet Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. So, Bhakti Yoga is the highest. And they mentioned meditation on the Super Soul. The Super Soul is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who resides in the heart, along with the soul. He's our friend, we can't see him, but he's there. And yogis who are meditational yogis, they focus on trying to see the Super Soul. And that's a stage, that's a step on the yoga ladder. So we go from, first, okay, we learn that we should do our duty, that's karma, but then we step up into yoga, we do it offering the results to Krishna, not doing it for our good benefit. Then, by doing that, we get knowledge. We understand spirit and matter, so we progress. Then we want to meditate on it. Then we meditate, and then maybe we are very interested in understanding about the Super Soul in everybody's heart. But then ultimately the Super Soul expands from Krishna. So ultimately it comes to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and that's the highest. So that's called the yoga ladder. And you can either do it by really trying, all these different yogas. Suppose you grow up in the culture with all these yogas, and you make progress, maybe all in one lifetime, or lifetime after lifetime you go to higher yoga. Or you can do it psychologically, because when we come to this movement, we start in the beginning. We don't start advanced, we start in the beginning. And first of all, we need to learn how to do our right duty and offer to Krishna. And we need to understand spirit and matter. We need to understand who Krishna is. We need to understand that the Super Soul is everywhere and in our heart. We need to tune into that. And then we need to have total love for Krishna, which by that time we don't need these other yogas. They're only to get us to Krishna. So the pure devotion to Krishna does not have any karma yoga or jnana yoga or the other yogas. But to get there, there's no use pretending that we don't need the other yogas. We need to go up the steps. It's a ladder. So, to continue, it is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shamasundar, another name, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower-garlanded. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahmajyoti. He incarnates in different forms, such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he descends like a human being, as the son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. So that's why we get descriptions like this, so that the more descriptions we hear like this, the more we can fall in love with Krishna, and that's the goal. So this stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga, as is confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasyaite katita yata prakashante mahatamaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed from the Svettasvara Upanishad 623. So we cannot do this without the spiritual masters. Like we have to have Srila Prabhupada in his books. We have to be obedient to his instructions. We have our own spiritual masters who give us instructions. We don't do this as independent upstarts. We will not get very far. We have to have, the doors won't be open until maybe a little bit, but the doors won't be all the way open until we surrender to this bona fide spiritual master and follow this instruction. So, Bhaktir Asya Bhajanam Tad Iha Mutro Padi Narasyena Musmin Mana Kalpanam Etad Eva Naishkarmyam Okay, bhakti means devotional service to the Lord, which is free from desire for material profit, either in this life or the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is the purpose of Naishkarmya. Naya means not, karmya, Naishkarmya means without fruit of results, basically. It means you're doing your duty, you're doing your service without desire for your own benefit. You're doing it all for Krishna. From Gopalacharpani Upanishad 115. These are some of the means for performance of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of the yoga system. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Dhyana Yoga. So, that's the name of this chapter. So this is a chapter about this is a chapter about meditational yoga. And the first, it's 6th chapter, this is the 6th chapter. The first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are called, I think they're called the Karma Yoga section. There's 3 sections. So the Karma Yoga, Karma means activities as well. And even meditation, studying knowledge and meditation are, in a broader sense, they're activities too. So the middle 6 chapters are about bhakti, devotion to Krishna. They go deeper. So you're just about to cross the threshold at the end of chapter 6 into deeper discussion of actual devotion to Krishna and how to know Krishna. And then the last 6 chapters are details of knowledge. So that's called the Jnana Yoga, knowledge part. So I was, kind of finishing up with some knowledge details. So like a sandwich, the best part of the Bhagavad Gita is in the middle, the juicy part, about devotional service. So, Sakura, hand up, yes?
You said in your talk that the people that don't have Krishna in their lives, they're not happy. But can you explain that? Because I know a lot of people living in the material world in the mode of goodness, they don't know about Krishna, yet they seem quite happy. Can you explain that?
Okay, good question. Temporarily happy, in a certain level. They don't experience the real bliss of devotional service, and they don't know any better because they haven't experienced it. So they're chasing after temporary happiness, and it always ends in dying. So nobody's happy about that. So as long as we identify with the body and we're trying to get for ourselves good karma and so on so we can enjoy it, then we're on a path that's always going to end up in death. And we don't know where we're going to go next. So real happiness is when you know that you're loving Krishna, because then you feel, for one thing, you feel more protected. You feel a higher kind of bliss, and it's lasting bliss, and you know that you're connected with eternal bliss on your way there. So in what we experience in this plane, on this earth, in these material bodies, when we practice our devotional service, the bits of happiness that we feel even in the beginning, special happiness, and it grows and grows, and it's more and more happiness that we feel as the years pass and we get more and more purified. That happens. What was the start of my sentence? We get to feel it even in this body, and it's the same happiness that they have eternally in the spiritual world. This is the happiness of loving Krishna. Krishna's name, in the Krishna Mahamantra, Krishna means all attractive, Rama means reservoir of all happiness. So we want to serve the reservoir of all happiness who gives it to us, gives us happiness, or we want to try to chase our own happiness and just get little bits. That's the difference. Does that answer? That answer?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
About 19 years ago, in a couple of the classes in a row, some of the students were saying, but I do serve my fellow man. I take care of my family. Can you explain that extension of self?
Well, we're always serving. We can't escape serving, even if we don't like our family and don't want to serve our family. If we're totally selfish, we just want our own pleasure. It's not even us that's enjoying, it's just a body having pleasure sensations for a bit. And but all belongs to Krishna. Or we can serve our family. They are not Krishna. They are not all attractive, and they are not the reservoir of all happiness. We get some happiness that way, and it's better if we serve them than if we don't serve anyone, just selfishly try to serve our own senses. And we should, as a duty, serve our family and take care of them. We're supposed to do that. But part of the duty is supposed to be that we can also give them Krishna consciousness. That we're not just serving them materially for a lifetime until they die, but they should get something lasting out of it, and we should, because we should all serve Krishna together, and that's much higher, much better. Anybody else? Do you have any questions? Yes. You have your hand up? Oh. Okay.
I was just going to add from the Bhagavad-gita, there's a verse that says about the mode of goodness. Because O sinless one, and the mode of goodness being purer than others is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. However, in the purport they say, that doesn't sound wrong, but as far as compared to loving Krishna and eternal life of bliss and knowledge, like eternal bliss and knowledge free from death, they say the only problem with that is this sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life. First of all, it makes them think that they're smarter than everybody and better than everybody, so you kind of get an ego trip. But at least it's a better ego trip. But it makes them bound by the mode of goodness, because you still got to come back birth after birth. Birth after old disease to enjoy your pious results. Go up to heaven, enjoy for a little bit, burn up all your pious credits, fall back down. So life after life, they become bound by the mode of goodness and material nature. As such, they are attracted towards working the mode of goodness. And as long as they have an attraction for working that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of material energy, one thinks that sort of life is pleasant.
Illusion, yeah. Yes, thank you. Very good. Yeah, there's heaven, but it's temporary. Spiritual world is different. Yes.
This is why if you ask the average person, name the types of karma, they'll come up with two.
Yeah.
Bad karma and good karma.
And everybody wants good karma.
They will never get no karma.
Right.
That's called a-karma.
Yeah.
And so the Vedic philosophy is incredible, where it says, is it this or is it that? Actually, it's neither one of those. We want to live an a-karmic life. No karma. We want to do everything as an offering to Krishna.
Giving the results to Krishna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to come back for the good, because you can do philanthropic, is the word. You can do philanthropic things, and you got to come back to get your reward.
Yeah, get a reward and then die again. Yeah, so what's the good of good karma? It just makes you come back and get it and die again. So better to have no karma by doing it all for Krishna. And then you go to there's an eternal spiritual world and there's a temporary heaven. And the other religions don't distinguish, or they don't know.
I've heard in the original Bible, like the original, it was changed so many times, but I had a friend I was working with like 10 years ago, and he said that there is a distinction. First of all, heaven and hell are not permanent. Just like in the Sastras, they say they changed that for like control or whatever. So in the original Hebrew text, there is the kingdom of God and there's the kingdom of heaven. So he said there's a distinction. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So they kind of, over 2,000 years of no specific succession, I'm sure it's easy to say, oh, kingdom of God, kingdom of heaven. They don't think of it as different because neither of us are there. They just know this realm and there's a better place.
Yeah.
They don't know that kingdom of heaven is where you enjoy, like with the demigods. Kingdom of heaven or kingdom of God is his eternal realm, where you got to be totally loving him purely.
Yeah.
Say, okay, I've learned my lesson, I found my head, I'm part and parcel of you, I know nothing else, just let me love you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Is there another hand? Oh.
Yeah, I just had a small comment about when we were discussing the 9 types of devotional service.
The what?
The 9 types of devotional service. And I don't know if it's like this for anyone else, but sometimes I feel that I can hear the philosophy so many times, and 9 types of devotional service. Like I've been hearing it my whole life. Like Mother Hardwani had us memorize them in class. So, but then when you were talking about it, and then sometimes you can just hear it again and again, and then one time you hear it again, and it just hits you. And when you spoke about it, it just hit me that sometimes I get the idea that, devotional service is just physical. Like, I'm not doing my devotional service, I'm not sweeping the temple, I'm not washing the dishes, I'm not adjusting the TVs. But then we forget, or at least I forget, that devotional service is also thinking about Krishna, listening to kirtan or Bhagavatam class. Like in my mind, I was never thinking, oh, right now I'm doing devotional service. Or when I have a thought of Krishna about how beautiful he is, I'm not thinking this is devotional service. But it's a nice reminder, actually, that it's not just the physical part of devotional service. It's also the mental part, emotional part, the subtle part.
Yes.
That can, then eventually we can develop all the 9. But at least sometimes we can still do devotional service even if we're not physically doing it.
Yeah. When I was new, I was getting a lot of service to do, right? My schedule was pretty full. And some of the older devotees would say, pray to increase your service. No, I'm tired. I'm not going to make that prayer. But I didn't, it goes deeper too. It doesn't just go more in quantity, it goes deeper. So, yeah.
Well, looking at all the types of services, like types of, to, I guess, to claim enlightenment, what I'm hearing here is how do you break away from this chain of birth and death? You're saying bhakti yoga is the main service we're trying to attain to try to stop ourselves from coming back and just doing the same mistakes over and over again? Try to
Yeah, that's your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, devotion to Krishna, because the whole truth is that Krishna is the source and the origin of everything, and he's where we belong, loving him. That's where our nature is. Somehow we left it. There's only one solution to all this. We're only in all this because we didn't want to serve him. The only solution is to want to serve him, which is bhakti yoga, or devotional service. So, and there's so many different kinds, and some of it's more external, some is more internal, but somehow to awaken that desire to just love Krishna is the cure for everything, because somehow we didn't want to love Krishna. Maybe we thought we wanted to be Krishna. It looks pretty cool. Maybe I could be the center, Maybe we wanted to be Krishna, so we came down here. And so Krishna said, okay, I'll give you a body, you can give it a try. And so it doesn't work too well, but we're always trying, And so we fight with each other about who gets to be Krishna sometimes. But the whole key is simply, it doesn't matter what kind of devotional service, but the awakening in the heart of the desire to love Krishna. That's the whole key. That's a cure for everything. And then for that to increase till the other things decrease, and it's all, because in the spiritual world, they don't have all the other stuff. In fact, in the spiritual world, they don't even have Bhagavad Gita, because they don't have a material body that they're identifying with wrongly. So they don't need the Bhagavad Gita to straighten that out, because they are only a spiritual body which is the same as the soul. It's not different from the soul. So in the spiritual world, everything is just spirit and loving Krishna. So anything else that is supportive of that for here, that gets us there, is something is on the way, and then the ultimate goal is just pure love for Krishna, and nothing else. And that's what there is in the spiritual world. And when we're like that, then we'll fit in up there. If we're not like that yet, we'll still get helps, and we'll still make progress until we get there. But we can't just barge into the spiritual world with a few material desires left. It doesn't fit. So we have to be pure when we get there. And it's all devotional service. It's awakening that love to be devoted to Krishna. Awakening it. It's natural. But it's covered. So have different practices to try to uncover it. And need a spiritual master, because if you try to do it without a spiritual master, you'll be doing a lot of... It's not just... Well, you can read Prabhupada's books. It's not just the knowledge that you get from a spiritual master. It's the surrender and the personal connection as well, because he represents Krishna. And Prabhupada does through his books too. You don't just get a bunch of knowledge when you read his books. You get a connection with the spiritual master. And you have somebody who is initiated by Prabhupada, who is giving initiation, that further connects, because you're accepting this connection and it's personal. If you try to do without that, you'll find it's a little confusing. It doesn't work the way that other people are talking about, because you're not doing all of it, That's why. Yeah.
It also works best in community. Not only guru, but you get the sadhus and the association of devotees.
Because devotees are teaching us all the time.
And when you're weak, they can be strong.
Yeah. When you're weak, they can be strong, yes.
And you'll always hear about Krishna.
Yes. Anybody else? I'll turn into a good discussion. Okay. All the ways to Srila Prabhupada and all the rest of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you all very much.